All right. So, driving to the airport. It's Saturday morning. Today is February 3rd, 2018. And I really need to work on finding some kind of way to mount a camera, because over time I plan on doing a good number of YouTube videos and things. Some will be kind of boring like this one. Others might be more interesting. But so it's about 8:16 a.m. and I'm headed to the airport for the first time since I left it on Sunday. That's sort of the deal with working stiffs like myself. Everything I do is limited to the weekends. So I left the airplane probably around 4 on Sunday. I was pretty burnt out. And I shaked my money maker for the last 5 days and made some money, and now it's a beautiful weekend again, and I'm headed out to spend some time with the airplane. So I have a pretty lofty goal this weekend with the airplane. I don't know whether I'm actually gonna achieve it or not. Basically, I'd like to, by the end of the weekend, I would like to have the interior completely ready for carpet. And by that means all the adhesive removed, and most of it's gone now, but there's a lot of detail work to do, and I haven't even touched the pilot footwell yet. So that's a lot more than detail, but the rest of it's mostly detail. So it's just going to take, you know, sometimes you get it 90%, and then that extra 10% just takes all the effort, and that's kind of where we're at. And it's a little silly if you think about it, because once I get that floor all clean, I'm just gonna put more contact cement on it. So you know, you could certainly make the argument that, why am I wasting my time? Well, the reason is because I want to prime the floor with zinc phosphate. Zinc chromate is what people is probably better, but I think it's a little harsher to use and a little bit harder to buy. And a lot of people don't even prime the floor. I mean, that floor doesn't look like it's ever been primed. And we're 44 years into life on this airplane, so it's really more than anything, honestly, it's just to make me feel warm and fuzzy inside, which a lot of what I'm doing is about me feeling warm and fuzzy inside. But that's part of the fun of owning an airplane, in my opinion, is to do the things that make you feel warm and fuzzy inside. I mean, if I, like the way I bought it, it was probably okay. It definitely had a few things, but changing the carpet, I mean, you could certainly argue that that was not necessary. You know, it still flew, right? And but it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. So I'm in there with a respirator on and effectively using toothbrushes to clean this thing out. And the main reason I'm doing it is ultimately to feel warm and fuzzy. So that's what's going on there. But my goal by the end of the weekend is to have the entire interior ready to receive carpet, which is sort of on the docket for next Saturday. So a week from now, I plan to be doing the same thing I'm doing right now, driving to the airport, probably about the same time. But this time I'll be actually putting in the carpet, but it's not ready for it now. So that's my goal for the weekend, and most of that work is going to come today, and some of it will come tomorrow. Now, one wild card I have is, right now the airplane has no fuel tanks. We're in the middle of doing that service bulletin 1006, and the mechanic is he's a little bit hard to pin down, I guess you could say, from a schedule viewpoint. He's been pretty reliable the last couple of Sundays, but you never know how long he's going to stay out there, or you know, if sometimes he'll run into like a lack of tools or something, and that's just some of the footnotes that you have to deal with when you're dealing with this guy. You can't just give him a project and he just handles it quickly and efficiently. It's just, I wish it was that clean, but But anyway, that said, it's a bit of a wild card in my mind in terms of how far we're going to get down the field, so to speak, with the service bulletin thing. I've already gotten the answers that I want to get. The spars look good, so I'm very happy about that, and I've lived through this whole week this week feeling a lot better about the airplane in general. But obviously we need to finish the job, get everything painted with Dinitrol, which I now have in the truck with me, and you know, complete the service bulletin, get it back. And which reminds me, I need to bring the logbooks with me. I actually don't have them right now, they're at home, but I'll bring them tomorrow. On the off chance that we actually finish, then I'll want him to go ahead and log that in the book. So we'll see. I can't really predict that, and honestly I can't even really predict the interior, because there's a couple of pieces to that project that I don't know. One of them is I'm going to try to replace that little wooden board in the back. The one that's there looks to be in pretty rough shape. I'm going to look at it really close. You know, maybe it's not as bad as I remember it. That'll actually be one of the first things I do when I get there this morning, is to remove that board and look at it and say, okay, in a fresh unit of time, does this thing really need to be replaced or not? And if it does, then I need to source one, and I need to figure out the thickness and the dimensions, and I brought a tape measure, and then I need to call Lowe's or Home Depot, or there's a couple of mom and pop type of places around here at Bartow that might have it, and there's a place called Witt's Building Supply, so I may go there this morning, see if I can find a piece of plywood that would be comparable. And then I found a guy on Craigslist named Kevin, who apparently doesn't have a car, but you know, he's talking about child support checks and stuff that he hasn't gotten. Just one of these guys. Sometimes you run into things like that on Craigslist, but he seems pretty confident. And I forgot to get the money from Jenna, of course. He seems pretty. I'll just stop at an ATM. It's no big deal. So he seems to be. He seems to think that he can do it. He says he's been doing carpentry work for 40 years. I didn't ask for his official resume and references or anything, but he doesn't live that far away, and you know, for 30 or 40 bucks, if he can whip together a copy of this thing for me, then I'll hand him a little bit of cash and move on. I'm not looking for a long-term deal with this guy, so we'll see how that goes, if it even comes to that at all. Sometimes Murphy's Law bites you in the ass, where all of a sudden you need plywood type A, whatever it happens to be, Baltic birch or whatever, and you know, oh, we just sold the last sheet, or well, the place in Brandon has one, or you know, I need one that's 30 inches and the most they have is 24. You know how it goes. Sometimes it's, I mean, in the end I'll find what I need. It's just, am I going to find it today? Am I going to bring it to that guy Kevin today? I don't know. These are wild cards that I can't really predict through, so I can't give you a really accurate, you know, depiction of how the weekend's going to go. But I can start it out and I can say, here's the goal. And I know nobody cares about any of this stuff like me, or like I do. It's my airplane. I stand to benefit from everything I'm doing. But there may be some entertainment value to these videos, and for me, I ultimately do it for me. So I enjoy talking about airplanes. And you know, one thing about being an airplane owner, or even a pilot to that degree, but especially an owner, because there's more pilots out there than there are airplane owners. If you want to delete the corporations and stuff out of the picture and say just private guys who own their own airplane, there's not a lot of people really that you can talk to about it. Like, to me, it's one of the most exciting things I've ever done in my life, and it's definitely a loaded thing. I mean, it comes with positives and negatives, but all in all, it's one of the most exciting things I've ever done in my life. I mean, to jump in this truck and drive to my hangar and open up my door and have my airplane, and to spend the weekend at the airport, whether I fly or not, you know, that's kind of that's a dream, really, for anybody who really loves aviation like I do. I'm gonna shoot through this light right here, so you didn't see that. it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And so when I'm at work, for example, you know, I can't talk to people at work about it because it's outside of their paradigm entirely. And one thing I've learned about people is the level of interest that people have in you tends to be pretty superficial. And that doesn't mean that people are bad. It's just that people are saturated with what's going on in their life. And you know, there's a pretty thick social veneer. And that doesn't mean that everybody's fake, but it means you only care to a degree. And that degree varies based upon your personal level of interest in whatever it is they're talking about. So like if somebody came up to me at work and started talking to me, and this wouldn't be a friend, this would be just a coworker, maybe an acquaintance type thing. If they came up to me and started talking to me about crocheting, you know, or sewing or whatever, like I would be happy that they were into it, and I would be happy that they got pleasure out of it. But personally, I don't care about that subject at all. So it wouldn't, you know, it might rock their world and make them super excited about life and, you know, whatever, sitting at home after work and they're thinking about sewing, and that adds happiness to their life, right? But that's not my paradigm. So beyond possibly short-term levels of interest, which I can do in the right circumstance, but in a passing situation like water cooler talk at work kind of thing, I don't care about that subject. And so it'd be the same thing with flying. Like if I said, oh, I bought an airplane, look at this, and I flew to New York and I bought it, and the pre-buy went this way, and you know, and right now I'm talking to a guy who's going to do some sheet metal repair on it before long, and I'm working on the interior, and I'm you know, their eyes are just going to glaze over, you know. Or if I try to paint a picture of sitting out at the hangar on a beautiful day, I mean, most people would probably get that, but it doesn't impact them the same way it impacts me. And so, you know, I could talk to my wife about it. She loves me and she gets it. She doesn't have the same passion that I have, but I think she's getting it because she's been exposed to this lifestyle. And my dad gets it, and a few other people, I suppose. But beyond that, in my regular everyday life, there's really nobody that I can talk to about this. And so the blog, and maybe some of the forums, there's Piper Forum and there's Cherokee Chat, and you know, and I could post things on there, but the blog is sort of like my outlet to communicate to some hypothetical person who gives a crap, which may or may not ever actually be the case, but it gives me an avenue to talk about flying, whatever's on my mind about the airplane, or what I'm doing, or the financial impact, or whatever. And over time, the blog is going to shift. You know, right now it's all what I'm doing to the plane, but believe it or not, I did buy this thing so that I could fly it. And in time, I really do want to get some GoPro. I have a GoPro camera already, but I want to get a GoPro mount, and I want to mount a camera inside of it, and possibly even let's see what's going on here. Possibly even on the tip of the tail, or on the wingtip, looking in. Or maybe I'll get 2 or 3 cameras, and then right now I really know very little about editing at all, so I'll learn all that as we go. It's all part of this iceberg I talk about, scraping the tip of the iceberg with everything I want to do in aviation at this point. But eventually I want to post videos of actually flying this thing and going places, and so the blog will eventually change. And it's not that if I were to do that I would expect that everybody's waiting with bated breath to see my videos. There's tons of videos on YouTube of cameras strapped to airplanes. It's nothing that's novel, but for me it's exciting, and I get to put it up and act, you know, like other people give a crap, and some may and some may not, and that's just part of putting things on the internet. It's really no different with Facebook. You know, people post things on Facebook and they say, you know, oh, I'm doing this, that, and the other thing. You know, they post pictures and people like it and stuff. But I think it's human nature to. Let me just say, there's human nature. It's human nature to think that you are important. And there's a book that I read a while back called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And that book was all about that concept. It was about the way you really make friends and influence people is to basically, I'm summarizing a fairly lengthy book, but it's basically to act like they are the most important thing ever. And that really is the God's honest truth about people, and it's human nature. So people post things, and I do it. You know, people post things on Facebook and they say, you know, I did this, that, and the other because it's important to them. You know, and somebody else might come and give a like or something, but the reality is they're doing things in their own life that's important to them. You know, so it's no different. That's kind of how this blog is. This password is so original on this door. I won't say what it is, but it's pretty simple. But anyway, let me cruise in here. So, but anyway, that's what the blog is for me. So I'm at the airport. You can see that's how long it takes to get here. It's really not bad. I think this video is like 16 minutes. And I drive pretty slow. I don't know if you could pick that up or not, but I drive pretty slow. So if I really went, I could probably get here in about 13, 14 minutes. So it's really not too bad at all. Let me stop here, make sure I'm not going to take anybody out. There's nobody there. There's nobody here. That's a nice airplane to be sitting there like that. But anyway, so this hangar 96 used to be leased by a guy named Barry, but he gave up his lease, and now there's a guy named Matt who may come out today. Here's my hangar 98, and let me park this thing. And so I've never actually met him, but it's kind of funny because my barber, the guy who does my hair, or cuts my hair, he doesn't do it, but the guy that cuts my hair also cuts this guy's hair. And long story short, we found out about each other through this mutual barber, and it turns out he just bought an airplane, but his is way nicer than mine. He's a dentist. He's got a lot of money. And I haven't actually seen it, but I have seen pictures of it. And his is, he's got a Centurion, Cessna 210, with Aspen avionics and everything, and he's, mine looks like a cereal box toy by comparison, but everybody's got different paradigms they operate within, and I like my little plane, so it is what it is for me. I'm not a dentist. I do pretty okay for myself, and I bought the airplane I was comfortable buying. So here we are, the first time in a week. Take a look at this thing. There she is. Hey, buddy. So she's been sitting here all week while I've been shaking my money maker. So let me turn on this thing here. So I got big plans for this girl this weekend. Here we are with these tanks removed. They look exactly the same as they did when I left her. So, so I'm going to be, between today and tomorrow, I'm going to spend probably on the order of, probably realistically, about 14 hours out here. And I hope my body can take that, because I'm 6'4", 200 and XX pounds. And let me open this hangar door. And cramming this big body in that tiny little cockpit for so long is definitely a thing. So let me pop this right here. So pop this other one. And let's see, do a little pre-door opening checklist. Come over here, push this, and now we wait. Got an electric door on this bad boy. So there you go. This is my longest video yet, but you can see this is how long it takes to get from my house. Because when I started the video, I was pretty much right leaving my driveway. So that's how long it takes to get from the house to the airplane. It's not too bad. And you can see I love this hangar so much because you can see as soon as this door opens up, there is nobody over there. And that's runway 23 and both the 27s. So it's just a beautiful day out here. So this is a wonderful thing, if you ask me. All right, I'm gonna let you go, and I'm going to get to work, and gonna make magic happen here this weekend. So catch you later.